Today I'm going to share with you 5 ideas you can take away that you and I can use not just to survive in hard financial times in the marketplace, but whereby we can thrive in those difficult financial times. There's something I've noticed about successful people, many things I've noticed, but this is one of them. Not only do they train to get to the top of whatever particular mountain they're trying to get to in their particular profession or their field of endeavour, but they train to stay there. I know one of the mistakes I've made is when I've got to the top of something, then sometimes I've eased off a bit, and that's not what the successful people do. They train to get to the top and they train to stay at the top. Here's another expression that I picked up some years ago, which I thought was really insightful, which was simply, amateurs practice till they get it right, professionals practice till they can't get it wrong. And it is in this theme of the difference between those people who do thrive in difficult times and those people who only just about survive, and some of them financially don't even survive. Years ago, when I used to run training courses, particularly sales training courses, on the second day of a 2-day course, I'd come in at the start of the day. I would say to the group of people I was with, I said, I was listening to the radio on the way in this morning in my car, and I heard that the England manager, and I'd always say just the England manager because I'm based in the UK, and people would then assume the England manager I was talking about would be the England manager of whatever sports team they happen to follow, whether it was the cricket team or the football team. It might even change based on the season. So I'd say the England manager was on the radio this morning saying that he's now going to follow the practice of business. And the interviewer said, how do you mean the practice of business? He said, well, now that we're in hard financial and difficult times, I'm going to stop all the training. Of course, the audience in the room got it immediately. I mean, what on earth? Why on earth would you stop training when there's hard times? And yet so many corporates, as we might think of them, large organizations, medium, and sometimes even small organizations, when things get difficult, they stop training. That is the last thing that we would ever take out of our budget, whatever budget it happened to be. We want to keep on learning. We would want to keep on training. Why? Because we're professionals. Well, not only do we train to get to the top, we train to stay at the top. That is such a difference, isn't it? Now, I know one of the reasons why corporates, using that language, stop training. And it's an insight that I don't think many people have thought of before. I certainly hadn't thought of it till quite recently, even though I've done a lot of work in this training field and why training doesn't work. And it's this. The reason that large organizations stop training in difficult times is that the training doesn't work. Now, when you think about it, that's obvious, because if the training did work, they wouldn't stop training. Of course they wouldn't. If they did some training and the people got better and they used those skills and the company made more money after that, after all, is what a business does, isn't it? It delivers value to its clients, its customers, its patients, and as a result it makes money. Money is the silent applause for a job well done and value delivered to others. That's what a business does. That's what individuals like me and you do. Now, if some training is done, if we have training, it works, we use it, it makes money, customers are happy, value is delivered, you wouldn't dream of stop training, even in hard times. You just wouldn't stop. So that's one of the major reasons, and I know the reason that it doesn't work. Let me share it with you. There's a couple of things. One of the main reasons is this, is that when people are trained, very often there is no consideration taken about who they are. In other words, their identity. Now, their identity is even deeper than their beliefs and values, but we could add that into the mix if we wanted to. But let's just think about identity for the moment. Here's an expression I wrote years ago. People will never consistently do who they aren't. People will never consistently do who they aren't, and it's true. We got a training course, we learn how to do something, we're not really too comfortable with it, and we go off and we use it for a while because we were told to, well, the manager or the boss says we should, but we soon fade. We soon come back to being and doing ourselves, because the flip side of the expression is true as well. People will consistently do who they are. So that's another reason that training doesn't work. But there's a third reason, and one on which you and I can capitalize on to not only deliver greater value and therefore thrive in difficult times, but also to make more money ourselves, and rightfully and regularly so. And here's a couple of cracking ideas on that front. You may have heard of the idea of Ebbinghaus, the Ebbinghaus curve of forgetting, Hermann Ebbinghaus from 1865 or something. And it was not called the Ebbinghaus curve of memory, it was called the Ebbinghaus curve of forgetting, because it's how people forget information. And people, when they learn, and people, when they're trained, just like me and you, we forget information. We forget the ideas, particularly if we don't put them in practice quickly, particularly if they're not aligned with who we are. So what we've got to do is we've got to counteract that idea of the forgetting by revisiting the ideas on a regular basis. I remember years ago when I used to do sales training, I had a program called Action is the Key. It was a cassette program, it's so long ago. And when I did this sales training out in corporates, then I would provide, and would insist that this had to be provided to all of the individuals there, a copy of this program. And it was a 15 set program with 2 cassettes in each box. And that meant over a 15-month period. They couldn't have it all up front because I knew they wouldn't listen to it, because people don't always do what you would hope they might do. So we've got to provide follow-up information. Now here's a thought for you. And I've spoken to many consultants, coaches, trainers, business growth people about this. And I remember asking somebody and saying to them, tell me, how many people do you train in a year? And the answer was about 2,000 people. I said, do you think it would be reasonable that you had a monthly follow-up program, audio, email, video, whatever, plus a coaching program for the managers of those people as well? Yeah, of course. What about a price of, let's say, for the sake of a number, £5 per person per month? Would that be reasonable? Yeah, okay. So £5 per month is £60 a year. £60 a year times 2,000 is £120,000 a year. The person I was speaking to was, what? So you know my follow-up question. Now, tell me, how long have you been doing this? About 10 years. 10 years, £1.2 million in missed value delivered, and you're getting paid 1.2 million. But you're giving greater value. The information you are sharing is more likely to be remembered. If it's more likely to be remembered, it's more likely to be used, and the results achieved. So this is one of the major problems that happen. Here's another way in which you can thrive in hard financial times. Very often when we're charging fees, maybe it's a day rate, project rate, or a delegate rate, whatever it might be that we're doing, those fees can be quite high, and it may well be that there are pressures on budgets. So one of the things that may be a good idea, not only follow-up programs, but then thinking about generally, could you create a subscription program? And therefore, rather than just be reliant on a smaller number of higher fees coming in, you've got a larger number of smaller fees. To give you an idea, years ago I ran the Achievers Edge, as it was then, an audio newsletter, and the price was about £13 a month. It was £9.97 plus £2.90 P&P. So 10 plus 3, about £13 a month. And at one stage, at the peak, we had 3,000 subscribers. That's £39,000 a month coming in the door on the first day of every month. Well, that reduces your exposure, the watchword in business, by the way, as you and I know, to various other high chunks of income coming through the door. So could you have a subscription program, or could you have a membership program, maybe a mentoring program, maybe a membership program, a number of people, a smaller number of people, but a higher fee rate, something that offsets this big chunks, which can disappear, as we know. I mean, over the last few years, with various things that have been happening in the marketplace, I've been speaking to friends of mine who are in the training industry, and they've lost some big contracts. No, it isn't actually that some of their stuff doesn't work. It's that this mindset of some people in the corporate arena and in business generally who stop the training as soon as there's difficulty. It's just crazy, absolutely crazy. Now, here are 3 ways, in addition to what we've already talked about, that you can recession-proof. I hate that blinking word. You can recession-proof your business, but I've said it for now. Number 1 is this. We have to keep on marketing. Let me just say that again, because I think I made a noise as well. We have to keep on marketing. Years ago, I saw when Sky TV first came to the UK, there was this brilliant advert on Sky TV, and it was an advert for Sky TV itself. Great fun, that, isn't it? And all there was a hand that stuck out of the side of the screen, and there was a basketball. And the hand was bouncing the basketball, and the basketball was bouncing up and out of the screen, right? And then the hand moved away. And the bouncing basketball easy to say, the bouncing basketball went boop, 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 and stopped. And the voiceover came and said, once you stop bouncing the ball, everything stops. And the metaphor, the analogy, the story was they were talking about marketing. They were talking about advertising. If we stop bouncing the ball, the leads stop coming in. The last thing we would want to do, provided that we have a good system to convert those leads into prospects, those prospects into clients, those clients into profits, by adding value, money is the silent applause for a job well done. If we stop doing that, no wonder that people run into difficulty. And so the next bit is, we must keep on marketing, we've got to keep bouncing the ball. We must keep on learning. As Zig Ziglar said brilliantly, it's what we learn today that gives value to what we learned yesterday. If we don't learn anything today, well, it can't happen actually. And the other thing is, back to the expression I said at the start, we must keep practicing. We must keep practicing our skills to make sure we're maintaining them at the highest possible level. And when we do these things, we stand out from the crowd. And therefore, we have a far greater opportunity to thrive rather than just survive. Last couple of points are these. Stop reading the news. Right. I like to read the headlines of the news, but I have to say, even the TV news, I switch it off once I've got the headlines because it is so negative. And as you and I know, and it's an old expression, you know, the newspapers have successfully forecast every recession we've ever had. You know what I mean by that? Have you ever noticed this? You've been reading an article in a newspaper or a magazine, you've been listening to something on a program, TV, radio, internet, whatever it might be, and it was something that you knew something about. And as you read through the article, as you went through that information, as you listened or watched, you realised that there was mistakes in it. In fact, sometimes glaring mistakes in it. I wonder how many other people are reading the other articles, watching the other bits and pieces, listening, seeing on YouTube or the internet generally, also saying, that's all right. Therefore, I'm a bit concerned that a chunk of the stuff that comes to us by way of news is not as accurate as it might be. I remember being on Radio 4 on the Today programme, the one that's in the morning news programme, and I was representing Nightingale Conant. And it was a conversation all about positive attitude. And the other person that was being interviewed was a person, I think he was from called the Lazy Society or something. And the interviewer did his utmost, and I won't say his name, it might be unfair of me, did his utmost to turn it into an argument. And I said to him, why are you trying to get us to argue with each other? There's a great chunk of what we're both saying that we absolutely agree with. We're just taking a slightly different nuance on it, thought process on it, feeling on it. I was taking the positive side, this other guy, apparently, but he really wasn't, was taking the negative side. So you've got to be really careful with the news. So be careful what you take in from so-called news outlets. And finally, we must keep putting our content out there. You and I know some great stuff that we can share with people, sometimes in a quick form in the way I'm doing this. I mean, each of these could probably be an hour video on its own, couldn't it? But let's keep sharing good quality, usable information that people can take away. They can use in their businesses, they can use in their careers, they can use in their lives. They can continue to go out and make a positive difference in the world, helping people solve problems, capitalise on opportunities, and they can be rightfully and regularly and royally rewarded for the difference that they can make. Now, I've gone on long enough now. You can easily rewatch this and pick up the summary. If you like this video, there's plenty of these about. I wish you every success in all your adventures in life. From me, Peter Thomson. Until the next time, let's remain positive, not in some hyper way, but in that solid, strong way that we know, by taking these ideas away and using them, getting our messages out there. Far better the right message than trying to find the right people. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye for now.